Hey, it's your buddy Peace and Harmony with you here today. We're focusing in on a very poignant viewer inquiry and question about how does a covert narcissist harm others? Is it possible for them to, through their covert narcissistic parenting styles, how is it possible for them to emotionally abuse others, especially when it's so covert, it's so undercover, it's so far from a visible form of abuse? How does this really equate to injury or destruction of emotional health in others? And it's a very poignant question because when we talk about covert narcissistic abuse, we're talking about withdrawal. We're talking about withholding. We're talking about the abuse by absence, abuse by silence, abuse by withholding love and affection. And when we talk about really the creating of trust, trust is very much created through certain words, but more so nonverbal and physical communication. Physical communication, nonverbal communication is more responsible for relaying information than the spoken word. In fact, it's thought that only 3% of communication is based on the spoken word. A much higher degree is related to tone as well as body language. So when we talk about the body language and the physicality of the covert narcissist, this plays a large role in the creating of trust or lack of trust, intimacy, and really healthy emotional develop in those people who are associated with them. Now, we just did a interesting video that was based on Dr. Paul Zek in his study of the moral molecule, and that is that of oxytocin. And the release of oxytocin and how that creates the connectivity, the empathy, the closeness, the intimacy, the trust between people. In fact, that feel-good chemical, oxytocin, is responsible very much for creating and establishing trust. So in a covert individual, a covert parent, a covert spouse, very oftentimes there is a devoid of intimacy. There's a devoid of physical warmth. There's a devoid of physical a compliment. They're not usually there in the same space. They can be very retreating. They can be very aloof. They can spend a lot of time in the garage, the attic, the basement, their office, their study, out at other activities, always, doing selfish, whether it just be going out for interest or exercise or working excessively. They're oftentimes engaged in highly selfish behaviors, selfish activities, and not spending a lot of time with the family and the spouse. And so if there's that lack of intimacy, that lack of hugging, that lack of warmth, this tends to deplete the oxytocin in the family, in the relationship. It reduces that feeling of closeness just overall when we talk about a family system, when we talk about the atmosphere or the culture of a family. If there's not a lot of that physical warmth, if it's all cerebral, if it's all in the mind, the covert narcissist can be very intelligent but lacking in affection. So there can be a lot of intellectual discussion going on, but it's not balanced with a certain closeness, affection, warmth, and intimacy. And really, those nonverbal communication styles and experiences are very much even more to a degree responsible for that creation of trust, that glue that holds the relationship together, that feeling of like, even if you do X, Y, and Z, I'll still feel close to you, I still trust you. And so therefore, if there's a lack of affection, a lack of common behavior such as hugging, pat on the shoulder, pat on the elbow, pat on the back, if there's a lack of that physical connection, there is a reduction in oxytocin or that feel good atmosphere with this person, within that family. So if there's this devoid that we feel with the covert narcissist, it tends to erode trust. It tends to create a sort of feeling of distrust. And if you don't have trust, really, that's the foundation of so much more productivity, accountability, the feeling of uh, longevity and being able to be apart from them and still feeling safe. So there tends to be this creation of suspiciousness, of distrust, and really a paranoia or just overall feel, uh, not discomfort and anxiety, depression, just not comfortable, not feeling safe, not feeling secure, feeling like something is missing. And so this devoid, this lack of trust, this really sort of chasm that is created is responsible for a lot of the emotional abuse and emotional distance that is experienced not only by the spouse, but by the children as well. And so, as you can imagine, if you don't have the experience of trust, if you don't have that established, you're going to create distrust. And if you have distrust, you're going to create a lot of rebelliousness, anger, rage, resentment, guilt, obligation, control issues, with one trying to control others through these negative and toxic emotions. So the atmosphere and culture of that family becomes one of toxicity, negativity, distance, and can be very cold. So when we talk about how important it is to have this type of communication, the nonverbal communication, the presence of a warm, genuine, caring other in the family system to create that glue, to create that cohesiveness, to create that connection, that very much is at the responsibility of the parents in the relationship. So the father, the mother are really, it's coming from the top down into that family system, into that family dynamic. And so if that is missing, if that is broken or that is not present, then we're going to have some issues and some dysfunction, and it's going to create that emotional gap, that feeling that something is missing. I'm insecure. I'm not able to go into my everyday activities and feel like I've got stamina, like I've got trust of myself and others, like I'm secure in myself, like I've got self-esteem, that I value myself. So a lot of other, I would say, emotions and behaviors and thoughts stem from that original deficit or that lack, that chasm. So we see people underemployed, underachieving, feeling, rebellious, getting into trouble with the law, or attracting other violators and perpetrators into their life to fulfill that chasm, to fill that void. Or we also very much see the opposite, where there's this chasm and suffering and separation. We also see where, just like in families of alcoholics, where if the parents are very irresponsible, the kids can often overperform, over execute, be overly perfectionistic, and become overly responsible and overly accountable. So they're triple plus students, overachievers in their job, working 12 hours a day, starting early, ending late, on the perfectionist mode, overachievers, and flawless. And this can be a very positive thing, but it can also create a facade of perfectionism. It can create a very difficult pressure and very difficult to maintain, I would say, that if there's a inner feeling within of insecurity. So if it's basically, if it's created as a defense mechanism, or what in the field of psychology is called a reaction formation, is designed as kind of like a reaction to this void. It can be very much a facade of perfectionism. So even though they're overachieving, getting great, great grades, highly employed, great income, all the trappings of success, all the comforts of success. Deep inside, they might also feel very much empty, or a sense of void, or feeling like something is not right, or feeling unhappy. So then we see those people who are high achievers who then also become later in life very unhappy, even though they have everything that one could want and wish for. So it does definitely create kind of both sides of a coin in terms of how covert narcissist parenting styles can have an impact to the future generations in the family. So I hope this discussion helps. And if you have any other questions, please feel free to email me at peaceandharmonynow@gmail.com and send me a video request. I'd be happy to review those and discuss. Thank you for your viewership. Thanks. And please do share and please subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support.